Yeah, Minister, we oppose any involvement in the European Defence Agency or the project of European militarisation, which is accelerating at a shocking rate. We will support the Sinn Féin motion to refer to the committee, but quite frankly, in our view, there is no justification for getting involved with the European Defence Agency. We've opposed it root and branch. We continue to do so because it is part of arming Europe for war. And it is part of a global escalation of militarism and developing the military-industrial complex that leads inevitably to war. And even the most cursory look at history will show you that before the other great wars, there was a process of armament, of turning Europe into armed camps, and turning the world then subsequently into armed camps. And when you divide the world into armed camps, at some point they go to war. And anybody who doesn't understand that doesn't even understand at the remotest level what our own history has told us in the last 100 or 150 years. The only argument that is put forward is that because of the inexcusable, brutal invasion of Ukraine by Russia, we've got to arm ourselves. The logic being, if we arm ourselves to a sufficient level, we will deter Russia from doing the sort of thing it has done in Ukraine. Now, there's a big problem with this logic, because prior to the war in Ukraine and Russia's invasion, NATO was spending 17 times more on weapons and armaments than Russia was. 17 times more. 4 times more than China was before the war. Did it deter Russia? No. Not even remotely did it deter them. But it is now the excuse to saying we have to arm even more. An additional 200 billion in expenditure projected. A dramatic increase in the European Union. Now, arming yourself and turning Europe and the world and countries into armed camps has never deterred war before. It hasn't deterred this war, and it won't deter future conflicts. It will do the exact opposite. It prepares for war. It makes war more likely. And then, of course, there is the strategic compass of which all of this is part, where Europe is developing its strategic defence and security compass. Now, I'll tell you what compass NATO and the European Union need, and it's not a strategic one, it's a moral compass. That's what it needs in the face of warmongers, authoritarian governments, totalitarians, people who have no respect for democracy, human rights, who commit war crimes, who commit crimes against humanity. What you want is a moral compass to determine your policy. Is there any sign of a moral compass operating in NATO or the project of European militarisation? There most certainly isn't. I look at the comment, for example, recently of Stoltenberg of NATO. Maintaining our technological edge has helped to keep our alliance strong and our nation safe for more than 70 years. But today, nations do not share our values like Russia and China are challenging that lead. They're not, factually, as I've explained. We're spending way more on them. But why does he only mention Russia and China? Because apparently they don't share our values. I agree, brutal authoritarian regimes. They don't mention Saudi, though. Do we share values with them? The European arms industry is selling billions to them. All major NATO powers and European powers go to Saudi Arabia for arms fairs, where, ironically, Russians are also selling arms, and Ukrainians are also selling arms, and Israel is also selling arms. And Israel has been massively boosted in its arms industry and its exports to Europe and elsewhere in the world since the war in Ukraine started. And Europe is selling Israel arms to kill Palestinians as we speak. German arms, Spanish arms, Italian arms, British arms, American arms. bombing the Palestinians, killing them, shooting them, murdering them.
And next,
no mention of the problem with that, though.
the regional group
We're against it.
Deputy Berry.